So this year our project is going to be centered on Dungeons and Dragons.
Interesting.
So I've played D&D for probably 35 years. Um, and I even when I way back when I was in college, one of the things I'd seen repeatedly in scientific articles, peer-reviewed articles from usually psychological, sociological journals, is how D&D helps people on multiple aspects. Some of it is, especially in the old days when the game was far more math-based, um, usually people who played D&D had much higher GPAs and higher grades. Um, they are usually also more open-minded and accepting of anyone and everyone. They also have had peer-reviewed studies that have shown that D&D players have either deal with mental health issues easier or have less mental health issues. And I know the suicide rate among D&D players, one study, again, this is probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, was like, I think it was like 8 to 10 times less than the average person.
Wow.
Because you have social bonds with a close group of people that you usually see on a weekly basis.
Mm.
And so this year, we're not quite sure how we're going to frame the project. It's going to depend on what the research says. So whether that be we focus it on the mental health aspects, focus it on the educational aspects, the socialization aspects, the more open and accepting nature. How we're going to frame it, I don't know. I know but we're going to look up the research, see what the peer-reviewed research says, and then approach either, a number of people. I know we're going to probably end up approaching Coliseum of Comics. They used to have a store in downtown Lakeland. I think they closed it. It was actually, I think it's this. I think that store is what became, or it's right next door to. There's like a trendy bar. I can't like a speakeasy kind of bar downtown. Like
I think I know what you're talking about.
it's
Yeah.
right across from Taco Bus or near Taco
Yeah.
Bus. Um,
Yeah.
it was either I think it was that location. That's where the store was. I think.
I don't know how old this, I kind of feel like I saw it before.
It closed sometime during, I think, right before or during COVID.
Okay, so I definitely saw this before.
They have a couple stores elsewhere. I know they had one, at least one in Tampa, a couple in Jacksonville, but mostly they're Central Florida. And then we have Gods and Monsters, which is in Central Florida. We have a comic shop. We have Cool Stuff Games. All of these places also host games.
Mhm.
So like people, players can rent a space in the back um, and hang out and play and so yes, actually there is a Coliseum in Claremont. I forgot they opened one up there. Um,
I
I
stayed about a block away from one in Orlando. It was off of Orange Blossom Trail. I don't know if that's still there.
mhm, yep. That's actually their wait, the one on OBT, was it around the parks? Like the theme parks?
No. Closer to, I don't know how well you know that side of Orlando. Holden Ave.
Yep,
There's a
yep,
public library close by too. Yeah.
yep. I know that one. And so the we're going to approach them in some way, um, possibly teaming up with um, different organizations. I know there's different children's groups organizations in Orlando. Maybe they can host games. Then, and obviously, we can do surveys to get data and things like that out of it. We're going to approach. I know we have a very lofty goal of approaching Wizards of the Coast who make it, um, and at least trying to involve them in some way in the project. Whether that'll work or not, I don't know, but it doesn't hurt to reach out. And they have had some bad publicity lately, so maybe we can use that to our advantage. they're monetizing everything to the point where players were revolting. So they need some positive spin. Um, and so that's the sort of where we're going with the project. And so, they will need to do research and figure out, because the key to our project is, if the peer reviewed research is not there, then the project may be great, but it's not going to be considered honors in action. And so I'll let you take it away.
All right. Sounds good. So am I a co-host here?
Yes, I give you co-host duties.
Awesome, awesome. So let me share my screen here. And oh, great. My all right, let's turn that on. Zoom may not be able to record until, oh no, that doesn't matter. All right. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So today we're here to talk about using databases at Polk State to find peer-reviewed articles. And also I think we're talking a little bit about APA today as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I know we got dinged pretty bad on APA formatting. I don't know how, because I know it was followed to a T.
Um,
But yeah, we always have to have APA formatting on our articles.
So I'll begin briefly by talking about our database collection. So to start with, you're currently looking at Polk State's homepage. We click Library TLCC, brings us to our joint access page. And another thing I kind of want to, I'll share this actually a couple of times throughout the presentation today. How you can get um, help virtually from a librarian as you research. So this landing page, we get a lot of traffic here. And so this is the main place we get virtual chat opportunities with students. The Ask a Librarian link, hopefully you've heard of it before. It's pretty big service throughout state of Florida. So you simply click there and you're able to either email us, you're able to chat with us, assuming that it's during our hours of operation. When we're not open, it only gives you the option of email. Then there's even a text feature, but the text feature is a little disjointed in my opinion. So I normally recommend that folks either do chat or email. So with that, we're ready to go to the databases page. So under the library icon, that second link that says articles/databases, we'll click there. And this is the database page. Now, there are a couple of things I want to mention here. One, so over 100 databases, quite a bit there. And we're talking about peer-reviewed articles, scholarly articles, as well as magazine articles, newspaper articles, videos, audio content. So quite a range in terms of different formats of information. It's organized alphabetically, as you can kind of see there, going A to Z. And then some of our most popular databases are linked on the right. And then things that are new as well are also linked on the right. So a helpful way of grouping the databases is by subject. So if you have a subject, but you're not quite sure which database you want to use, that is available here. A lot of folks go right to the general if they're, unsure of what they're um, which database would be best for them. So I'll just go down to general so you can see what that looks like. So as you can see, it kind of stripped all of those extra ones out of there. I think Academic Search Complete is probably the best place for us to go. It indexes over 40 different psychological journals. So I think that's a good starting point. And I'll also show you a nice little multi-search option that you can use whenever you're using a EBSCO database. So yeah, let's go Academic Search Complete here. Now at this point, you would be asked to log in. So you'll see, rather than get this home page that I got, you'll see two links. One will say staff and one will say student. For students, you'll click that student login link, and then you'll be logging in with your passport credentials. Once you do that, it brings you to this page. That login is it's live pretty much the entire time your browser's open. So when you close the browser, you would more than likely be asked to log in again. But if you navigate away, let's say you go to like CNN or something, and then you come back to go to a library database, it'll auto log you in because the cookie is still active for that session. So that's a nice little feature that we have there. Also, I do recommend that you use Google Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Sometimes you have some issues with Edge, Internet Explorer. So those are the preferred browsers for that we recommend to students to use. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're researching. Also, another quick fix for, because this is a cookie kind of based login system, sometimes you end up with like you hit back or something and it acts like you're not logged in. So sometimes opening either an incognito window in Google Chrome or a private window with Firefox kind of gets you around that cookie issue. Also, you can just clear your cache and cookies also if there's something going on there. So keep that in mind for troubleshooting. That's kind of the first thing we normally talk about whenever students end up on the phone or in the chat and they're saying, hey, I can't get logged into the databases. That's a good troubleshooting note to keep in mind. All right, so we are currently looking at Academic Search Complete. We are logged in. You will see like a sign-in button up here. That is a different system. If you're going to do a lot of research with Academic Search Complete and you want to save things kind of virtually, you are able to create an account there. But that account is separate from your library account. So it's something that you'll be able to, if you forget the password, you have to reset it there yourself, things of that nature, right? So Academic Search Complete, as you can see, is the name of the database. I mentioned earlier that we have the ability to do a multi-database search. So what I was referring to there is by clicking Choose Databases, we're able to choose other EBSCO databases to include in the search. So for this particular topic, I think PsycArticles goes along quite nicely with Search Complete. Both have a lot of psychology journals indexed, so that's probably how I would recommend you begin. There are others. Sinol might have something. Medline might have something. In fact, I'll probably include Medline here as well. But then we click OK. And now you can see the databases that we are searching. Now from there, people tend to generally just kind of input their keywords at this point and hit search. But I do like to recommend that on the front end of your search, take a look at your search options and choose a couple of things to make life easier for you on the back end of the search. So the first one that you're almost certainly always going to use is the full text search limiter. That ensures that when you do a search, all of the articles on the back end of that search button they're going to be full text articles. If in the event that you do not click that, you may get more results, but some of those results won't be accessible. So you end up with just like a record of an article, which may include like an abstract or summary. So you're always looking for full text. Next, are you looking for peer-reviewed literature? If that is the case, like it is now, you go ahead and check that off. You'll see a lot of other search limiters, but I do not recommend you do too much busy work before the search. So definitely look for full text. Um, do I need to have peer-reviewed articles, or am I looking for something else, right? Beyond that, I would tell you to not go beyond that here, because you can do a lot of this also on the back end of the search. So now we can come up and enter our keywords. So Dungeons and Dragons is probably going to be pretty good for that first line. Now, if you already kind of have a secondary search term, you can enter it there on the second line. I'm very curious to see just kind of what we get in terms of peer-reviewed articles with Dungeons and Dragons in it. So we'll just start very generally and hopefully drill down a little bit once we get some more information. So now I'll hit search. I may have been going a little too fast here. Are there any questions so far about anything I've covered? Let's see. All right, great, great. So, or thank you, Dolly. Um, 26 results came up, so not too much there. Um, Number two kind of looks a little bit like what Professor Cornett was discussing earlier. Let's take a look at that one. So when we click the title of an article, the next thing we see, I like to describe it as just a publication page. You can see the author, you can see the journal that the article was published in. So in this case, the American Journal of Psychotherapy. Beyond that, subject terms. These can be helpful sometimes. So if you find an article and it interests you, you can sometimes find secondary articles by simply conducting a search using those secondary subject terms. These are a lot like hashtags in social media. So like with Twitter, for instance, if you search for the hashtag, in this case, psychotherapy, every tweet that is tagged with that will pop up in your search results. Same thing here within the databases. If we did a search for Dungeons and Dragons and psychotherapy, all of those articles should pop up. Next, you have a abstract here. And this, of course, is just a summary of the article. DOI numbers listed. That's just a way to link back to the article. All right. So you read the summary or the abstract, and you decide, okay, I definitely want to take a look at the full text for this article. The link on the left that says PDF full text will jump you to the article. So we'll click there. And basically what you see next is just an Adobe view of the article. This is what it looked like when it was originally published on the web. The alternative view that you'll sometimes see linked next to the PDF, or sometimes just by itself, it'll say HTML view. And the real difference there is the HTML view is basically just a web page version of the article. It's generally not formatted with like page numbers or any of the small details that come along with the PDF version.
And as a side note, guys, you'll need that DOI number for making your APA citation.
That is correct.
Make sure that either you download it, and either download the abstract as well, or or the site, or write down that DOI number. And whenever you guys look up articles, make sure that you get those full text articles. And we're going to do what we did. I know Dolly did it last year. We will be organizing all of your research into folders on a Google Drive. So make sure you download that full text article if you think it's worthwhile, and we'll put it into one of the categories on the Google Drive.
Okay. So that there's actually a couple things I want to mention now off the heels of that comment. One, your tool section is available here on the right. You are able to link directly to Google Drive to save an article. Same is possible here with OneDrive. I don't know if that's very visible. Let me come back to the front page so you can see that. So there you go, Google Drive, OneDrive. A thing that I recommend anytime you see an article that you're even remotely interested in, I recommend you email it to yourself for two reasons. When you click email, you can send this to your personal email or your Polk State email, whichever you prefer. And so this is checked off, meaning when I check my email, I'm going to see the PDF available as an attachment that I can now download to my computer. And then if you click on citation format, you're able to send that APA citation along with that email. So let's say I found 5 articles when I'm working with Academic Search Complete, and I've emailed them all. When I finish for the day, the next time I get to my computer, I log into my email. I'll see all 5 of those articles saved to my email. So it's a good way to track your keep track of your research. Sometimes when you're trying to come back into the database, you might have done 10 or 15 different searches, right? So you're wondering which keywords did I use to get that article, and then what page was that on, right? So it can get a little difficult to retrack and retrace steps. So anytime you see something you're remotely interested in, you can save yourself a lot of time by just email.
And if you email that as the APA citation, that'll save whoever ends up being the writers a lot of time from having to format the entire APA citation properly.
Exactly. So for this particular article, I'll click Cite here so you can see an example of what to expect. It's going to look fairly similar to this. So in this instance, you can kind of see there is formatting in play already. There's italics on the title of the journal, so American Journal of Psychotherapy. There's your DOI number as well. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm actually going to copy and paste this to a Word document because I just kind of want to briefly show you some of the things you may have to do with Word. All right, so let me change my sharing here. All right, share screen. And at this point, I just want to do the desktop, I think. All right, there we go. So I'm assuming some of you are probably more familiar with MLA than APA. So one of the big differences in terms of works cited pages versus reference pages, first thing you're going to have references up top. And let me change my font there. So I want this in Times New Roman size 12, also double spaced. All right, so if you recall, I just copied a citation from Academic Search Complete for our article. So now I'm going to paste it in. So there are multiple ways to paste. The one that you result, assuming you've already established the APA formatting for your document. Once again, Times New Roman, size 12, double space. is using the match formatting option. So as we click match formatting here, as you can see, it's already double spaced. Got my italics on the title. Um, it, there are a couple ways to do that. The keyboard shortcut is Control T for a Windows computer. It's the Command sign T for an Apple computer. So once you do that, it auto formats that hang indentation, as you can see. The other way method most commonly used for it is the options. So I'm clicking where I would click the double space. Then I bring up my options. And then under indentation, you just maybe got a hang indentation with the value of 0.5. Once you have that, you click OK, and you'll have a citation with a hanging indentation. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Don't be shy, guys, if you have questions.
Yeah, feel free to. All right. Thank you, Chrissy. So from there, I want to come back to search complete, and we'll get back to our results list. So this is a fairly small batch, but in the event that you're working with a large batch and you're going through multiple pages, I want to discourage from just hitting the back button. If you hit results list, it'll return you to the exact spot you were as you were sifting through the results. It also kind of helps you not run into that like the cookies issue I mentioned earlier, where sometimes it acts like you signed out, but you technically still signed. I'm just gonna come down. One of the things I want to show you here is so subject terms, we have a lot more now. So if you think about it, we used Dungeons and Dragons, and we used, I think that was it. Yeah. So now dungeon role playing games might be a possible keyword search for you, and then psychology as well. So maybe we can try that search after this. And all I'm going to do here for now is grab a site so that we can talk a little bit more about the references page and some of the things we can do to our formatting things correctly. So I'm going to paste again here. If you recall, I mentioned match formatting earlier. So when we click match formatting, of course, it didn't work great this time, right? Let's see. Sometimes they come over with bullets. Yeah, you just have to kind of pull them off. So I'm just deleting those. Well, what I wanted to show you was, as you can see, I didn't have to format the indentation for that second one because it was already existing in the document. So that match formatting a lot of times will just keep that indentation going as you add more citations to your references page. Another note, you typically do not want any links within the reference page. So right click and remove that hyperlink. Another thing to consider is you want these to typically be in alphabetical order. Say you have this set up, and a lot of times we're talking about much more than 2 citations. So this is just for sake of an example. To alphabetize this without doing a big, cut, copy, and paste game, You simply highlight all of the content that you want alphabetized. And when you come up to this section of the home ribbon, you'll have essentially formatting. And so there's a button with a A and a Z and an arrow pointing downward. So you just click sort. Paragraphs, text ascending order is the um, options you want selected, and then you click OK. So even if I had, 4 pages worth of citations and I did that same function, it would alphabetize them based on that first letter. All right, so um, that is our references. So now I want to try that secondary search that I was just mentioning. So role playing games
And that
and
that could actually be like doing Dungeons and Dragons specifically. Obviously, that's what we're doing. But if you like a more generic role playing games, probably would get you more results than Dungeons and Dragons.
right.
But we can try it both ways too.
And also, if you look at the author supplied keywords versus the subject terms here, you'll notice so stylizing things kind of comes up from time to time with databases and searches. So role playing as one word here, right? Versus down here you see role dash playing. So sometimes you enter both of those terms. One way you can do that is role playing or role dash playing. It actually looks like that's not going to be too much of a issue, but sometimes you never know. And then psychology. All right, so we hit search. So we had 26 results earlier for Dungeons and Dragons. So this is a lot bigger now. So now we're looking at 2,900 results. Now we could probably talk a little bit more about good ways to kind of refine our results and cut down in the size of our search results. So, do you guys have any publication date limitations?
I generally ask them to keep it within the past 5 years.
Oh,
But in this case, especially if it's one of those Dungeons and Dragons articles,
right,
some of those may be from the past. Like that one that we looked at was from '94.
right.
Um,
94 and 2015.
so I generally ask for 5 years back. But if it's a great article, it may be worth keeping even if it's older.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna update this to 2018 here. So we go from 2,900 to 530. So as you can see there, that saved us quite a bit in terms of getting rid of results that not necessarily consider. Another thing you can do is limit by subject. So this sort of comes from feel after you found a few different articles. You'll be looking at those subject tags. You'll be keeping an eye out for like, okay, role playing. Um, and I guess it just sort of depends on what other um, key terms are popping up to you as you're reading through the results. All right, so if I click on, let's see, peer counseling versus role playing, facing other traumas, a role taking theory. Hmm.
Is
Oh,
it?
you know what? I did role playing and not role playing games.
Yeah, I was like,
That's the issue. I was like, this does not feel right. Okay, let's try that again. That might limit this a lot more. Yeah, so 122, that makes a little more sense. Um, Supporting interventions to reduce household. Oh, that's interesting. Um, oh, look at that. Imaginative role playing as a medium for moral development. Dungeons and Dragons provides moral training. Now, this is a great example because it features the full text finder. So this can sometimes take you on a little bit of a ride. When you see full text finder versus HTML full text or PDF full text, this is essentially saying, hey, I'm going to try to take you to another database that um, has the full text article, right? Sometimes it's hit or miss. Let's see what we get here today. So full text finder. And now we're being brought over to Sage Journals. So Sage Journals is another database in our collection. So that worked no problem. That's great. Now sometimes you'll bump into that. You hit full text finder and you can't get the full text from there. That's a great time to reach out to your librarian, particularly one of the librarians. And we can sometimes either get access to it through other means. And that also includes an interlibrary loan search. So we can uh, search the country libraries. Sometimes you get something from just up the street. Other times you can get something from halfway around the world. So it just sort of depends on what the article is. So now, also, if you recall, I said we're now looking at an article in the database um, Sage Journals. If I come back and click on that title for the article, I'm still able to cite it here. And the reason that that's important is that Sage does not generate APA citations the way Academic Search Complete does. So I can still get my citation here. I can still email myself a link to jump to that article in Sage by using that tool section within Academic Search Complete. So just to recap that because I want to make sure I don't lose anybody there. That full text finder link, it's simply saying, hey, let me see if I can bring you to a different database which is housing this particular journal article. Most of the time works just fine. Other times there may be some issues, and you can reach out to your librarians for help with that. Assuming it's an article you really want to get, and otherwise you can just kind of keep looking, right? All right, so I think I've covered most of what we had on the agenda for today. Are there any questions at this point about um, using Academic Search Complete, doing that multi-database search that we talked about, right? I'm searching 3 different databases here, or formatting APA resources, anything along those lines? Let me pull up my chat box. Can't really see what's going on here. There we go, chat. Oh, all right, we got pros in here. This is great. All right, so I want to follow that up with once again, my name is Jarrod. If you do need to reach out to me, my email is here. You can also find me by just searching for my name on the Polk State College website.
All right. Thanks, Jared. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for
And
having me. Thanks for having me. It's an
uh,
interesting topic. I'd love to kind of see what you guys are coming up with as you're working.
yeah, we're meeting, and just a reminder for you guys here, we're meeting tomorrow night or not tomorrow night, sorry, Thursday night, to sort of divvy up the subject searches. So, maybe since there's so many people doing this research, one will kind of tackle mental health. Maybe one tries to look for articles that are centered around, better grades. One will talk about socialization or being more accepting of groups. So we're going to meet tomorrow to kind of divvy up the workload or sorry, Thursday to divvy up the workload and see where it goes.
Okay. Oh, one more note. So as you guys divvy up work, if one person gets assigned formatting, because it was mentioned earlier might have been some issues APA wise, please come by the library. I'd be happy to take a look at it with you. So if you have either questions about the format or you just want another set of eyes on it, I'd be happy to take a look at it with
And we will, especially when it comes to writing up the paper on this at the end of the year, we will most definitely be doing that because, like actually, you know what I'll probably do is I'm going to send you what we sent in
you. Okay.
to them because we got a 1 point out of 3 possible, which is basically saying, you wrote it down. And I know that they followed APA formatting, so I kind of want to get your feel for what it looks like and where there's mistakes that mistakes were made. Just so, and if you say, well, there's no real mistakes here, I can go to our headquarters and be like, hey, please
Oh
get
yeah,
some.
I'd be happy to take a look at that for you. Mhm.
Okay, cool. And actually, this article, I actually would like to read this one. Imaginative role playing as a medium for moral
Would
development.
you like me to send it to you?
Yes, please. Because,
A Cornet at
yep,
Pulp.
yep.
All right. Sending that over now. And it'll say EBSCO host as the
Mhm.
sender. Sometimes you have to check your junk mail depending on who your email provider is.
Okay,
All
cool.
right.
Well, like I said, I appreciate it, and I'll let you know what how our research goes.
All right. Everyone